Do you want to know how to sell your music catalog for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars? Kind of like what artists such as Justin Bieber, Bruce Springsteen, Shakira, and countless others have done? Well, my name's Christian Hale, producer-songwriter right here in Nashville, Tennessee. I've personally been a part of multiple music catalog sales and have countless friends right here in the industry that have sold, purchased, and even brokered music catalog deals. So come on, let's get into this video, and I'm going to give you the 5 steps to sell your music catalog for big returns. All right, so step 1 is to change your mindset. You need to stop viewing your music only as a piece of art and start viewing your music as an asset. This mindset shift, I believe, will be foundational in starting to understand the world of music catalog sales. Think of an asset like a stock, business, or piece of real estate. These assets can appreciate in value, depreciate in value, be leveraged against, and so on and so forth. So you might be wondering to yourself, why am I talking about all this first, especially in a music video? There's a reason why an investor, whether it be an individual, record label, or VC-backed company, is willing to spend 5 to maybe 10 to maybe even 20 times annual earnings on purchasing a music catalog. The reason is because this is how record labels and catalog purchasers view your music. They're not just looking at the music for the quality of the piece of art, they're looking at the music as an asset. So if you're gonna jump into this world of wanting to sell your catalog and potentially cashing out someday, I think that you need to start viewing your music through the same lens as the potential purchaser. So that's step 1, change your mindset and view your music as an asset. All right, so step 2 is to reverse engineer the process and begin with the end in mind. Let me explain what I mean by that. You need to gain an understanding of the various music revenue streams that can be sold and then what those typically sell for. Some examples of music revenue streams that can be sold include songwriting royalties, music publishing royalties, producer royalties, master streaming royalties, synchronization royalties, music library royalties, sound exchange royalties, and others. So you get the idea. There's so many different revenue streams in the music industry, and those are all things that can be sold in a music catalog sale. I think another thing that's critical for you to understand is that everything doesn't have to be sold at one time. All of those revenue streams that I just mentioned, and even smaller percentages of those revenue streams that I just mentioned, can be sold individually. So once you have an understanding of the revenue streams that you can sell and an understanding of the revenue streams that you might hope to sell, what you need to do is reverse engineer the math of what you hope to sell for based on standard catalog multiples. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say you want to sell your music catalog for $1 million. You go and research the revenue stream that you're looking to sell, and you see from your research that the asset that you have typically sells for 7 times annual earnings. Well, we know from the math there that if you want to sell your catalog for $1 million and it's 7 times annual earnings, you need your catalog to be doing roughly $140,000 to $150,000 a year in this example. As far as gaining an understanding about what your catalog is actually worth, here's a few tips and things to understand. In the catalog sales world, there's 2 main factors that will determine the value of your catalog. Number 1 is the dollar age, meaning is the asset that you're selling 1 year old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, or evergreen, 20 years old, or even further. It's a general rule of thumb, the older the dollar age, the higher the sales multiple will be. And if you think about why, on the older dollar age, there's 10 years of data for an investor to analyze and see performance trends. Where on the 6-month or 1-year catalog, it might be in a really good stint, but 2 or 3 years go by, that catalog could dwindle, so it's viewed as a riskier investment to a catalog purchaser. The second factor is volatility, meaning is your revenue month over month, quarter over quarter, depending on how it's paid out, is it pretty flatline, or is there a lot of volatility, meaning one pay period is really good, then the next pay period isn't so good? In general, revenue that's pretty flatline, meaning it pays the same each payout period, is going to earn a higher rate of return than a more volatile asset. So putting these 2 factors together, you're typically going to get the biggest payout on a music catalog with an old dollar age and flatline revenue. By the same token, you're typically going to get a smaller payout on a newer catalog with a volatile dollar age. So these are just all things to be aware of. As always, there's exceptions to these rules, but these are good guiding principles that play out in the vast majority of music catalog sales. Another thing that's helpful is to see real-world examples of what actual catalogs have been sold for. And fortunately, there's some resources on the internet that can provide you with that exact information. If you go log into catalog sales websites such as Royalty Exchange and Songbest, you can actually log in and see all the factors that I just mentioned. You can see the final sale price, you can see the dollar age, and then you can analyze some of the data to see how flatline the revenue was versus how volatile the revenue was. You can also see, are there any trends in genres that pay more versus genres that pay less, so on and so forth. So log into those websites and start analyzing the data. I bet you'll start to pick up patterns and see some of the trends that I just pointed out. So all of this information will allow you to reverse engineer the math of the catalog sales process and begin with the end in mind. So step 3 is to actually put in the work and build your music catalog. All of the other steps in this video are for nothing if you don't actually implement this step. Go create great music that brings in revenue over a long, consistent period of time. There's really no substitute for time, consistency, and hard work in this step. But bringing it back to step 2, while you're doing the hard work of building up your catalog over years and years, remember what you're working toward. Work strategically with the right people and on the right projects because you have the end goal of selling a catalog in mind. Say no to the things that don't align with that end goal. Let me give you a personal example of how I've implemented this. As a producer, let's say I ideally want $5,000 a song to do a record for an indie artist. Say an indie artist comes in, I really like their music, I want to work with them, but they only have $2,000 a song, but I go look at their streaming numbers and they have a really good streaming following. What I might do is, instead of saying, hey, I'm $5,000, you only have $2,000, we can't work together. What I might do instead, and what I've actually done in the past and I've seen the payoff from it, is I'll say, hey, we can do $2,000 and maybe 25% of the master share on the back end, or 50% of the master share on the back end, or some percentage of the master share. Let's say that master share percentage I take on brings me $1,000 a year. Well, that $1,000 a year may not sound that exciting, but let's say in 3 or 4 years, that $1,000 a year could be sold for a 5, 6, 7 times annual earning. I effectively put $2,000 up front in my pocket, $1,000 a year for 5 years, let's say, and then $5,000 to $7,000 on a prospective catalog exit. If my math's right, that's worth more than $5,000 or saying no to an artist because they can't afford to work with me. So that's an example how in my own business, I've structured deals that on the surface may not make sense to take on, but if you zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and have the end goal in mind of selling a catalog, you can actually find a creative solution that aligns with that goal. So remember, there's no substitute for consistency over a long period of time, but put in that hard work and remember why you're doing it. So step 4 in the process, after you've changed your mindset, reverse engineered the math, and actually put in the hard work, is you're gonna need to have a little bit of patience and give it time. One of the last things you want to do in today's catalog economy is sell prematurely. As I pointed out in step 2, dollar age can have a tremendous impact on what a catalog sale might be worth. So once you have a catalog bringing in a little bit of money, show a little bit of restraint. Don't run out and be tempted to sell it right away. Give it some time, give it a few years, let it do its thing, pay you over time, and know that that exit's coming. And in the meantime, keep building up the catalog. I would say in today's economy of TikTok and Instagram Reels being able to just blow songs up maybe years after their quote unquote prime, now more than ever, you don't want to sell a song prematurely. Let's use an example of the song Makeba by artist Jane. Makeba came out in 2015, and it was a massive song, synced like crazy pretty soon after coming out. It'd be really easy for the rights holders to sell their music catalog because, you know, that's 8 years old, it's kind of had its moment, and maybe it's dwindled. And honestly, I don't know if the rights holders of Makeba have sold or they're still hanging on to it, but 2023 rolls around, TikTok rolls around, and that song explodes on TikTok. As of the time of making this video, Makeba is everywhere on TikTok and Instagram. I can't get away from it. As a result, that's driving up streaming in real time and more than likely going to be driving sync licensing revenue too. So if you would have prematurely sold that catalog 5, maybe 6 years ago, yeah, you cash in, but then 5, 6, 7 years go by and you miss out on this whole resurgence caused by social media and other future things coming down the pipeline years from now in the music industry that we aren't even aware of yet. Not only will you most likely not get the multiple you're hoping to get by selling prematurely from a young dollar age, you could be leaving money on the table just because the song hasn't had a chance to fully run its course yet. So be patient and give your catalog time to mature for the ultimate payoff. So step 5, after we've done the other 4 things I've laid out previously, is to actually move forward with selling your catalog. Now this might seem like relief, we finally made it to the end of the journey, we're gonna sell, but I do have to forewarn you that this will most likely be a lengthy sales process. When it comes time to actually move forward with selling, one of the first things you need to do is actually decide with who and how you want to sell your music catalog. As I previously mentioned, there's online auction-like sites such as Royalty Exchange, Songvest, and others that are sold on an online kind of auction-like format. You can also choose to go the route of a private broker or entertainment attorney that does nothing but specializes in catalog sales. This is typically how it's done when you get into the bigger catalog sales. Know that based on which type of brokerage service you choose, you're going to be paying that broker a fee typically derived based on the sale of the catalog. That fee could be as low as 3 to 5%, but more commonly up to 10, if not 15%. If you're an artist or producer with management, you're typically going to be paying out management commission on top of the brokerage fee. As if these fees aren't enough, get ready to pay even more fees, most commonly in legal fees with an entertainment attorney. Typically, legal fees to do these catalog contracts can range as low as a few $1,000s all the way up to 6-figure legal fees and everything in between, just depending on the scope and complexity of your deal. Once you decide which brokerage service you want to move forward with, there'll be a period of you going and collecting all the detailed data to give to that broker so they can go put together a listing for prospective buyers. Depending on the complexity and age of your catalog, just pulling that data in and of itself can take quite a bit of time. Once the broker has all that information and they put together a listing, there's yet another sometimes lengthy process of the broker going and actually trying to sell the catalog to prospective buyers. They're going to go out there and shop the catalog, receive offers, do counter offers, or if you're on one of the online sites, there's an auction period, which depending on the site you're going through can have counter offers and some of the back and forth period there. You might think that when you and a buyer agree to terms and agree to a purchase price, the hard work's done, we can put our feet up and cash the check, but not so fast. Oftentimes after the buyer and seller have agreed to terms, the longest part of this process is still in front of you, which is doing paperwork, going back and forth with attorneys, doing letters of direction so that the revenue goes from you to the seller, and so on and so forth. I have a friend who's nearly 2 years into the catalog sales process, and almost 1 year of that process has been after the buyer and the seller have agreed to terms. But this due diligence period, contracts, letters of direction, final negotiations, fine print, lawyers can honestly just take months, if not almost a year. But rest assured, that's the final step in the process. So once all that back and forth is over, you do get to get paid and actually sell your catalog. All right, so that's it. Those are the 5 steps of how to sell your music catalog for maximum returns. Obviously, as this video lays out, there's a lot more to it than just saying, I want to sell my music catalog. Then 1 week later, you cash a fat check and you're sitting on a yacht doing whatever the heck you want. But if you follow these 5 steps of changing your mindset, reverse engineering the process and beginning with the end in mind, putting in the work, giving it time, and then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, moving forward with selling, you will see a successful catalog sale with good returns. If this video brought you value and you learned something from this, would you consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more content just like this? If you'd like to dive even deeper into this and have somebody like me with a decade of music business experience come alongside you to help level up what you're doing, I have a limited number of one-on-one coaching spots available in the link below. In these one-on-one coaching sessions, I help music makers of all levels improve the quality of their music production and increase their music business knowledge for maximum efficiency. If that sounds like you or something you're interested in, click below to learn more. We'll see you next time.